for me, leadership means to be able to take everyone along, to set a vision, and to ensure that that vision is actually brought to fruition.
Hello and welcome to Up Close and Personal at Invocate Studio, where we're diving deep into the heart of leadership and education equity. My name is Rhea Mehniderrata and I'm your host today. And with me, I have Mrs. Rashmi Arun Shami, IAS. She's the Principal Secretary of School Education in the Government of Madhya Pradesh. Rashmi ma'am, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
My pleasure to be here today. Thank you for calling me.
Of course. Thank you. I'd like to start by asking you the million-dollar question. What does leadership mean to you?
I think for me, leadership means to be able to take everyone along, to set a vision, and to ensure that that vision is actually brought to fruition by taking your team along and by ensuring that you are there to support everyone.
That's fantastic. I'm going to jump off of that, and you said making sure you're achieving your vision or mission and also taking other people along. I want to dive deeper into the concept of collective action. What do you think it means to utilize collective action towards impact?
So I think we must realize that almost everything that has ever been achieved has been through collective action, whether it is people working together in the government, whether it is the government and the public, or whether it is government and civil society organizations, or just different organizations together. Because when you come together as organizations and as people, that's when you are able to leverage each other's strengths and also manage each other's weaknesses, and then really set out to do something and also finally achieve your objective.
Absolutely. This sounds amazing, right? We are champions of collective action here at Shiksha Lokam. But we know that there are some challenges that come with getting a group of diverse perspectives together in one room and asking them to work towards a shared vision. Tell us your experience with challenges and how you've been able to manage those, and any tips for anyone who's watching.
So, so in the government and particularly in Madhya Pradesh, in the school education department, we work with a lot of diverse teams from different organizations, and we work in areas like foundational literacy, numeracy, we work in school leadership, we work in vocational education, etc. So the challenge that I personally face is how do we make sure that the government and the NGO or the organization that is partner organization that is working with us, how do we arrive at a common vision, one, and then how do we establish an equitable or a working relationship where people are not stepping on each other's toes all the time. So as far as I am concerned, I think we have been able to do some marvelous work because we have made sure we got the right kind of partners, and then we give them the space that needs to be worked on. For example, I think we are doing some fabulous work in foundational literacy numeracy with an organization called the Education Alliance. And for our CM Rai schools, which are our flagship schools, we are working very closely with an organization called People and also the Piramal Foundation. What we try to do is we try to make sure that we give everybody enough space to work in, and also wherever there are overlaps, we try and manage those overlaps in such a way that there is no unnecessary or undue conflict or unwillingness to share things, and to keep an open dialogue with everybody all the time, and also set out our expectations very clearly, and then follow it up constantly. Yeah,
those sound like very fundamental to enabling a collective towards impact. So thank you for sharing those. I'm going to take a different direction now and ask you about the role that working in education leadership plays in accelerating any kind of impact. We've long seen NGOs focus primarily on schools, infrastructure, working exclusively with teachers and not really focusing on leadership. And now we're seeing a shift in working with education leadership, empowering, that's what trickles down for impact. So what is your opinion on that? How important do you think that is? So Any examples you want to share?
I think you're absolutely right that the teacher is the primary agent of change. But if you really want to do a very good job and have sustainable change, then you need to empower the leadership. And leadership starts from the top, from the minister and the principal secretary down to the school principal. So the middle management has to be trained very well to understand their role. And the school leaders have to be trained very well.
Right.
And when I say school leaders, I don't mean just the principal. I mean the principal, the vice principal, the head of the middle section, the head of the primary section. So just to share an example of how we have arrived and how we have achieved this in CM Rai schools, we have 4 school leaders. And so the principal, the vice principal, the middle head, and the primary head. Okay. And we have trained each of them very well in leadership. And we have also done a team building workshop with them so that all 4 of them are working in tandem and not running around in different directions. Fantastic. We also, we did a 3 or 4 level training. We took them to IIM Indore to understand about management, self-management, and, management and leadership. Right. Then we did a very intensive leadership workshop with them. Okay. And we took them on exposure visits to schools which are performing very well, both in the government and the private sector. Right. And then, as I said, we did this team building workshop. And I think the results have been quite phenomenal. And because the school leadership team has taken ownership and decided that they want to run good schools, the teachers have taken their cue from that. And I can safely say that we are, on our way to build some excellent schools.
Yeah, that sounds like a very thoughtfully orchestrated plan to get 4 different types of leaders who have different functions together and ensure that they're also working in teams. We would often see instances of just maybe training the school leader and the vice principal, for example, in isolation and not really getting them together. So that's a fantastic approach. I'd like to jump a little bit into the concept of agency. We talk a lot about agency and how the people who we're working for need to also have a voice. They need to have hold over what is happening with them, with their education. How do you propose we should go in that direction? How should we go about restoring agency of stakeholders when we're planning our interventions?
So, so there are, one is the agency of the school leaders. So something that we figured out was that a lot of times they don't have adequate financial powers. So they are not able to take financial decisions at their level. And a lot of it then is, pushed upwards, and it takes a lot of time. Right. So we sat down with the principals, talked to them, and understood their needs. Right. And then we worked with our finance department to ensure that our principals have the right kind of financial powers, which helps them to take decisions at their level. Right. And I think that has had a very good impact. Similarly, we empower our school leaders to be able to hire guest teachers whenever they need help and whenever there is a vacancy. So they are not waiting for somebody else to post if there is a vacancy or if a teacher has gone on leave or long leave or something. They are able to do so at their level. So that's for the school leaders, and that's how, because they feel empowered, they are able to do things quickly. Right. The other thing is the agency of the teacher. So in a lot of cases, we tell them that you have to figure out how you want to do this better. Right. We'll train you, but ultimately you have to deliver. Yeah. And if what we are telling you, you want to add anything beyond that, go ahead. It's not just thus far and no further. So I think that has helped. And then, of course, it's about the parent. How do we ensure that the parent has agency? So we have done a couple of things besides the usual parent-teacher meetings where parents are called and, explained things to them. Right. We also, because in government schools, a lot of parents have not studied or have studied very little. Right. So they don't know how to teach their child like a parent from a middle class, where they are making sure that the child is sitting down and studying for 30 minutes, getting help or whatever. Right. So we have sent letters to our parents, talked to them about what they can do with their children at home. So it doesn't matter if the parent is not educated. It doesn't matter if the mother is only, maybe class 2 pass or something. she can still make sure that there is a reading corner for the child. She can still ensure that the child is sitting down for an hour undisturbed studying, and she can just open the book and say, okay, why don't you read out aloud to me what you have studied?
Right.
So that's how we have tried to take everybody along and ensure that there is agency for everybody.
Absolutely. You sound like a champion for restoring agency. So any words of wisdom for all of the CSOs working on designing programs and to help them center it around agency, think more about agency?
So thank you for calling me a champion. I think that any change is possible only when everybody believes in it. So if you don't give them agency, then it's not possible. So when you are designing a program, sit down with the stakeholders, listen to them and understand their needs and then design. Don't believe that you're the font of wisdom.
Right. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. We're now going to move into our last segment, which is the rapid fire. So if you're already familiar, I'll just ask you a bunch of fun questions and you don't have too much time to think, so just say whatever comes to your mind.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
I think how to make things more peaceful.
Amazing, thank you. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Okay. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
Going on a trek.
Okay. If you
Actually, river rafting.
River rafting? Okay, we're seeing a lot of water-related activities in this segment.
Yes.
If you could master any skill instantly, what would it be?
Cooking.
Cooking. One message you want to give to teachers?
Love your children, I think, and respect them. I think that's how you'll be able to get the best out of them.
Yes, that's lovely. Thank you for sharing that. It was lovely engaging in conversation with you. I learned a lot. And I hope to talk to you again sometime soon.
Thank you for
so
having
much.
me here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
That was it for this segment of Up Close and Personal at InvoKid Studio. We'll see you next time.